Hey guys, it's Ed, welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're talking about one of my favourites, blood oranges. Okay, so before we start we need to actually get to the ingredient for today's recipe, which is of course blood oranges. So I brought you once again to my favourite place, to my local market, to Borough. Now you have a few different types of blood oranges, a few different varieties, and sometimes you'll find ones that are really dark and bloody, and some that are just like normal oranges. Now you might think that the ones that are just orange won't have that same dark fruit interior, but that's not always true. Sometimes they are the darkest fruit, so what you're really looking for is not the colour of the outside, but actually the variety. And if you can find Morrow blood oranges, they're the ones that tend to have the darkest coloured fruit and the nicest flavoured juice. Now obviously you can use any type of variety of blood oranges, or if you can't find them, regular oranges will work absolutely fine as well. Right, now we can start the recipe. Now blood oranges for me are that perfect winter fruit. They brighten up even the most miserable day when it's wet and cold outside, and let's be honest, in London it's been like that a lot recently. So what we're going to make is a really easy, simple pound cake. We're not going to make it as a loaf or a bundt cake like you might normally do. We're going to make it as a simple, single, quite thin layer cake, and we're going to top it with a really nice and easy kind of stripy blood orange and vanilla glaze. So all we need to do is make a really basic cake mixture. First thing we need to do is line and grease our tin. So this is a deep 9-inch round cake tin, and then once that's done we're going to melt our chocolate. You can do that over a pan of simmering water, or we can just throw that in the microwave as well. Now when it comes to microwaving white chocolate, you need to be very careful because it has a tendency to burn very quickly. So all we're going to do is turn that on for 30 seconds at a time. We're only going to let it go for about 15, then give it a stir and then check on it. That way you risk burning it a lot less and it won't catch, because white chocolate or any chocolate burnt is the most disgusting thing in the world. So once the chocolate is nice and melted, we can just set that aside. So for our dry goods, we're going to use plain all-purpose flour, and then we're also going to add some ground almonds, and that's going to give a really beautiful moist tenderness to the cake. And then we're also going to add, of course, some salt and some baking powder. We're just going to whisk those up together, and then we can work on the main bulk of our cake, the butter and the sugar. So we're going to add some unsalted butter that's nice and soft and room temperature, along with some caster sugar. Now if you wanted, you could also add golden caster sugar. That's going to add a slightly more caramel note to it, but whatever sugar you have on hand is fine. I just wouldn't use a brown sugar for this because it will hit too much of the blood orange flavour out of the cake. So add a caster sugar as well. And then obviously we need to add the zest of our oranges. So we're going to go for 2 blood oranges, and then once that's done, we can add that onto our mixer and beat that for about 5 minutes or so until it's really nice and light and fluffy. Now the reason we add the blood orange now rather than folding it into the cake later is we want the oils to release into the butter and sugar mixture. So by beating it together at this stage, we help break it down and bring out all those beautiful flavours. So why is it important that we beat the butter and sugar properly for a good 5 minutes until it's really light and fluffy? Well, the reason is all about texture. When the butter and sugar gets this really nice, soft, cloud-like texture, and you can see that it's changed colour, it's gone from slightly yellow to really nice and pale and creamy, that means that we've added loads of air. The sugar's making lots of little pockets in the butter, making it really nice and light, which means the cake will be really nice and light. Now, it also means that when we add the eggs will get incorporated a lot easier. If you've ever had it where the cake batter splits and it kind of looks really cottage egg, no, that's not a thing. Cottage cheesy, kind of loose and separated. If your cake batter splits, it will still taste delicious, but it will lose a little bit of volume. So it's really important that we get that done to a really nice stage. You can use a KitchenAid, obviously, but you can also do that with a hand mixer. It'll work just as well, it'll just take a little bit longer to do. Now that the butter and sugar is really nice and light, we can add our eggs. So we're gonna add one of them at a time, and we need to make sure that we beat it fully before we add another one, because if you add it too quickly, it's again more likely to make the batter split. So we're just gonna add our white chocolate, just scrape that in to the mixer, and then just turn it on and mix that for a minute or two just to bring everything together so it's nice and smooth. At this point, it's just a matter of adding our liquid and our dry goods. We're gonna start and finish with the flour mixture. We're just gonna alternate that with some double cream. And again, the double cream is gonna give a really beautiful, moist tenderness to this cake. Now all we're going to do is take our finished cake batter, we're going to spread that into our prepared pan, spreading it into a nice even layer. That's then going to go into the oven for about 40-45 minutes until a skewer insert comes out clean, or when you gently press on it, it springs back to the touch. Now the cake is out of the oven, we're going to let it cool for 10 minutes whilst we make a syrup. So yes, we're going to make a syrup to soak into our cake. It's going to make it extra moist, also going to give it another layer of blood orange flavour. Now when I was in the market, I showed you two types of blood oranges. We had the small, really dark red one and the larger, more normal looking orange. Obviously I've taken the zest off these so you can't really tell. But just to show you, this was the dark one, this was the more orange looking one. And you can see that the more orange one on the outside is actually darker on the inside. So it's best not to judge the outside of your blood oranges. So we're gonna use the orange that is darker on the inside, we're gonna juice it and then add an equal amount of sugar, bring that to a simmer, and then brush that all over our cake whilst it's still warm so that it really soaks in there. Then we're gonna let that cool and then we're gonna make a glaze to go on the outside with our other orange. Okay, so now the cake is cooled, we can get on with the glaze. So we're gonna make two types of glaze. We're gonna make a vanilla one and then a blood orange one. And we're gonna create like a kind of striped effect on top of the cake. So what you're gonna do is take about 2.5 tablespoons of the blood orange juice and 2.5 tablespoons of milk in two separate bowls. And to that, we're gonna add some icing sugar and mix that until it's nice and thick. It still wants to kind of have a ribbon. It needs to fall from the spatula. But if it's too thick, it won't spread, and if it's too thin, you'll just get a really blended mess and it won't hold any definition. Also, to the vanilla one, obviously we're gonna add some vanilla, so I'm gonna add a little bit of vanilla bean paste as well, just to give it that finished flavor. So now that we have made our glaze, we're gonna pop them into two piping bags, and then what we're gonna do is just snip off the ends and then pipe alternate stripes across the cake so we get a nice striped effect, and let it drip off the sides. You can do this in different ways. If you want the sides really neat, you can use a spatula afterwards to kind of smooth it along the sides. I prefer it kind of nice and rustic and just quick and easy. So let's do that. So that is how you make my blood orange white chocolate pound cake. It's a really simple, humble cake, really delicious and the perfect thing for the afternoon with a cup of tea. If you want the recipe, as always, is up in the corner, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel because I make new baking videos every single week, and click on that notification bell to find out when those new videos go live. Until next time, I'll see you later.